Archer. I don't know why it says Archer.
Oh, yeah.
That's bizarre. Hey, everybody. It's Sam Loeffler. How you doing, man? Good to see you, dude.
I'm well. How are you?
Doing
I changed it from Archer. Archer's my son.
Okay, all right.
So he was using my computer to Zoom something at some point. So
okay, well, this is Andy. He's just a fan, and I said, hey, Andy, why don't you come and join this interview with Sam Loeffler and congratulate him on Narratias, the 9th album, man. It's I have to say, interesting concept. Nothing is real, and this is all a simulation. What kind of research, Sam, did you guys do to validate or invalidate that idea?
He just lived life. Obviously, it's a simulation. Obviously. Yeah. That's about it.
Self Destructor, arguably one of your heaviest songs ever released. And we've played a lot of them at rock radio since the year 2000, right? You guys have had so many great songs. And the end of the song reminds me of a Faith No More track with the piano. And so I jokingly say on the air, like, I can just imagine the fish flopping around right now. I'm surprised they didn't put that in the video. And then come to find that it was Faith No More's Epic was a big inspiration for the end of that song. Yes or no?
Yeah, I mean, Faith No More has been a band. I mean, I listened to them since they first started. I mean, all rock music as a rock fan becomes inspirational to you, but Faith No More did a lot of great stuff, and that would definitely be. We were listening to that song in the studio with Joe Barresi, and I just said to him, I was like, "What if we just did a little piano at the end of this thing?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, like Faith No More." And I said, "Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That's cool. That's an ode to a great band who did a lot of cool stuff."
Yeah. Now, who played piano on the song? Was that your brother or you?
Yeah, Pete
do you guys both play piano?
Pete did it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Is my internet being weird?
You're glitching a little bit, but it's not too bad. We can deal. So eventually touring will resume. I don't know that I've ever seen any keyboards on the on the live stage for Chevelle, but how are you going to be able to nail this and reproduce it? I mean, obviously the song, but the whole album, there's a bit of keys on it. What's the thought there? Are you going to go out with a keyboardist to be able to fill those parts? Are you going to play to a track or what?
Well, we don't play to tracks, so if we do it, we'll play the parts. But I think we can make it work. Yeah, we definitely can make it work. We've had other things like that, and then sometimes there's little parts that you can put on. It basically be like a sample. So you trigger the sample to play that part. So there's a song called "Still Running" where there's a screaming part at the beginning. That's on a sample. So we hit it, and then you just come in right at the part. So we use snare drum samples, 808 samples, things like that.
Yeah.
So there's definitely ways to do it. Oh, or to just literally play it. Like that part of the song, we could have a bass player play that out. So that would work.
So I have to ask, what room are you in? Is that your living room? Most people's living room, they got a couch and you've got a drum set and like the coolest lamp I have ever seen in my entire life. Look at that thing, Andy. Andy's a drummer as well.
Which one? This one here? The one on his left?
Oh yeah, this one.
On our right, yeah.
Right, this one here.
I don't know that I can see it very clearly, but
yeah, it is a cool lamp. I don't remember where I got that. I'm actually in my. It's just in my music room. We have a studio. It's actually at Pete's house. So there's a full studio there, but here I just have a practice kit and a keyboard and some other stuff set up to be able to work on things. But I can't work here. I have children. I can practice a little bit, but I could never work here with kids. You can't work around kids. They're just it's like a roving band of coyotes around your house. Literally.
We've got 4 kids and 6 grandkids, and my wife and my buddy Andy, his girlfriend, occasionally looks at us when the kids have aggravated us, and we go, "Whose decision was it to have these things?"
That's so true.
We all have 4 kids between us, so fortunately they're all grown and gone, so they don't really affect our lives too much, other than the occasional Tuesday night dinner.
Yeah, it's having little kids is a young man's game too. It's definitely made me younger. That's for sure. I mean, I couldn't sit Indian style for very long before, but now I can do it until my legs completely fall off. Yeah.
And you know every single word to one fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish. And unless
I know
that
a lot of
got
words
canceled too.
I read one of the baby books, quite a few years ago before I had my first kid. And it was a great book. I wish I could remember the name of it. It'll come to me after this. But one of the main things that he was like, learn a song, like learn a kid's song, because you're going to have to sing to them when you're changing their diaper. Otherwise, they're not going to stand there. It was a really good book. Like I said, I'll remember it right after this. So that's a stupid, useless story. Yay.
Hey, so you and Pedro Cuscadero, your brother Pete, both lean on the creative side. Is one more creative while the other one is more the business guy, or are you both high creatives and just focus on music stuff and have the business people handle the business stuff?
No, you're 100% right. Pete is the creative one, and I do more of the business stuff. We try to write at the same time together, but we'll work on stuff, lay down some drum beats, and I'll leave. Pete will be like, all right, I'm gonna write a melody here. You can just go ahead and go. I'll call you later to see how it goes. If you need to come back or another, and then he'll write, sometimes he'll write 4 melodies to the same song, and then be like, which one's best? And then you can mix and match a little bit and stuff. I mean, he works constantly, and that's one of the things that's come up about this album taking us so long. Neurodius is like almost 5 years between albums, between that and the North Corridor. And I think it's better because I think we wrote more songs for sure. And it just takes a long time. But there has been other songs too where we finished them and he didn't like it. So we went back and wrote a completely different melody and then sent it to our producer, and he's like, yeah, I love that. And then he wrote a third complete separate melody that was not just finished, but also recorded finished. There's a song on North Corridor that has completely 3 separate, completely sets of lyrics and melodies.
Wow.
So do you change that up in concert?
No, that would really mess your head up. But it would be cool to put those things out there sometime, just people can see it. I mean, if it was easy, anybody would do it, right? It takes so much time. And you have other musicians be like, oh, I sat down and this song just came right to my head. And like, oh yeah? Was it like 2nd grade rhyming? Did that come right to your head? The first thing you thought of, you wrote it down? I mean, you have both. Sometimes you do have strokes of genius that just come immediately, but most of it, I think most writers would tell you, most of it takes time.
Yeah. You would think that after all your success over the years with the major label deal, platinum milling, selling status, that you'd be fairly well set monetarily, but it came to light yesterday that you haven't really made a ton of money off album sales. Because of how much the industry has changed since the year 2000, does it now make better financial sense to continue, but with self-released music now that the new album kind of fulfills your commitment to Epic?
Well, that's a lot of questions in one. Yeah. One. Okay, well, a couple of things. One is, we didn't say how much money we've made in anything except for we haven't made any money from album sales, which is true. We've done very well on all the other parts of the business, which is great. And that seems to be what's happened with the industry, is that it's kind of like the industry knows that touring and merch and publishing and things like that are their own things. So they're like, because of that, we're going to take everything else. So when it comes to your albums, you give us 9 albums and you get nothing for it. Huh. And it's just, your album becomes a promotional tool. And I think that is something that it is surprising. There's a lot of details, ins and outs and everything there. Long story longer, the reality is, had you not made that deal when you did, who knows if it ever would have gone to where it is now. Because we've done great in a lot of places. We still do. I think the whole thing with that Pete saying that about how we haven't made any money on albums is more about letting people know how it works when you sign away your masters for 29 years.
Yeah.
you know, that's really what it is. And if you can sort of give a little bit of info out to somebody out there who's like maybe on the fence about signing this major label deal, but they're doing really well on their own, promoting their own thing. Yeah. To answer your question, it all depends on what's out there and what you're able to do on your own. There are some great artists who have done a really good job promoting themselves and been able to be able to keep all the control. And that's great too. What's that?
We've spoken to a few that really prefer to have that individual, that independent label, that independent release. And they also, everyone that we've spoken to said they make more money now than they ever did when they were, with a label.
I could totally see how that is. I mean, and that's the other side of it too, is that you can use the major label to get it out there and to do what you're going to do, and then transition into a situation where you have more control. The reality is with Epic Records, where we've been for 20 years, we had a lot of control. They've been very good about letting us do almost whatever we want, and supportive. But the 20 years, we've had 8 different presidents, 9 different A&R people. There's no person at Epic that's responsible for us not making money. Everyone there, I'm sure, wants us to make money. It's just not the model that exists.
Sure.
And they've been supportive, and we have good people there that have done a lot of work. And I think that, unfortunately, some of those people will probably be disappointed to hear that. But all you have to do is put yourself in anyone's shoes, right? Somebody who's an inventor goes out and develops this fantastic engine that saves 5 miles a gallon for a super airliner, and he spends his life's work doing it. And then at the end of it, he gets 0 for it, right? It's like, well, he's probably entitled to something. And maybe someday we will make something from it, but people don't understand how the major label record deal works. Just the standard deal is that the artist pays for everything, marketing, promotion, radio promotion, videos. The artist pays for every single thing, but it goes against their record sales.
Yeah.
So that's why, wasn't it Kanye that said that he was in debt millions to his label, even though wasn't that
likely? Yeah, that sounds like a Kanye thing.
Don't quote me, but I thought there was a pretty big article a little while ago that is in my inbox to read. But I mean, if you're a major pop artist, that label might spend millions of dollars to promote your music, and that money comes out of your share of the record sales. So if your share is 20%, your 20% pays for all the marketing, the millions of dollars. So until it gets paid back, you're in a negative situation.
Wow. So back to the new album. The album cover reminds me a bit of the old animated movie Heavy Metal without as much boob.
So good.
Tell me about your relationship with the artist.
Well, I mean, we don't have any other than that Pete had this book that was like 3 foot by 2 foot. Basically, every page in it looked like a poster, and that's from him. And he's done these since probably, I don't know, since the 60s. Been doing these paintings, and there's a lot of like women with big boobs and tails, and dudes with like string bikinis on with like giant muscles and and like centaur heads, things like that. Boris Vallejo is his name, and so he's got this. It's like it's between either sci-fi stuff or the fantasy stuff, and so Pete had this book, and there was so much great stuff in there. So one of our Scott Carter at Epic, he contacted him and said, "Hey, are you interested in? Do you have any pieces that might work for a record that's coming out, a rock record?" And he sent us like 20 or 30 different pieces and said, "Hey, these are things that you could for like a really, really reasonable price, a very reasonable price for as big of an artist as he is." And he was great. He was awesome, and we honed in on a couple different pieces of artwork, and this one just spoke to us. And I think it's the best album cover we ever had.
That's cool. I like it. This may be obvious, and perhaps you've talked about it before, but how have other bands' sounds influenced the evolution of the Chevelle sound over the last decade, or have they? Do you listen to other stuff to get inspiration in the current setting? Not talking about, an Old Faith No More song or whatever.
Yeah. I think that what we're talking about songwriting, Pete especially doesn't listen to things in our genre. And most of the stuff I listen to is older because you don't really want to be influenced by anything you just want to make your own music, and you want to find the influences from something that's not rock music. And that's just the reality of it is. And that's why early on you find influences from The Cure and Depeche Mode and these kinds of things, because if you think about it, those people are singing, right? They have these grand vocals, and that is what Pete's doing. He's singing. Sure, he's screaming too sometimes, but so is Ozzy, right?
Yeah.
So we try to not be influenced so much by things about music around you, just more influenced by the stories of the world and stuff like that. And when you play especially when you play as much as Pete does on guitar, you don't need any outside influence. It's so much, literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of songs, that are sitting there waiting to be explored.
Has there ever been any pressure from the label to work with outside songwriters, or is that something that you guys have ever considered, someone you'd love to maybe collaborate with someday?
No, absolutely not. We've never wanted to work with anyone as a songwriter. I mean, that's why Pete has said it when it has come up. No one's ever pressured us to do it, but when it has come up, Pete's like, why would I want to give that up? That's my favorite part, is sitting there and working through the chords, working through the notes, the progression, and then sitting trying to find a lyric that works almost like another instrument in there, and finding a melody. He's like, why would I give that up to anyone else? He said, I don't know how anybody does it without doing that. It's such a personal thing that, you'd be missing out on a pretty major part of it. So yes, we've never worked with another writer.
Okay. What goal for Chevelle still has yet to be checked off?
Nothing. I mean, what are you going to do? You get number ones, you get, fans, you play headline shows in front of tens of thousands of people. As a musician, you just want to be able to do whatever the fuck you want. That's what it is. And that's where we're at. We just want to do what we want to do.
So say that, it's your choice. You could take 2 months to tour, whether it's, performing and playing for people or just exploring a country. 2 months. What country would be at the top of your list?
Oh, man. It'd be Europe. We've spent a lot of time in Germany, and we've had such a great time doing that. There's castles and all that kind of stuff. But it would be Europe for sure, because we've spent a lot of time in the U.S. exploring the U.S. and I never get tired of that. I'm a motorcycle trip guy, so I actually had a plan to go through Alaska on a motorcycle for 3 weeks, and it just got canceled because I hopefully have shows to do.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
What's that?
You see shows coming back in the near future?
That's a good question. We're seeing that as places are opening up. I think the original problem, there was 2 problems, is that you still had to get permits from the cities, in that state. It wasn't just a state, but it's the cities. And then I think you also have to have insurance to be able to do these shows. So I think those things are happening. I don't know that there'll be much touring this year, but I think you'll see one-off festivals and things like that, a lot of events. I know they just announced Lollapalooza in Chicago, Taste of Chicago, and a bunch of other events are supposed to be happening. So if those are happening, concerts are happening. I just wonder I know that there's a giant amount of people who are just like, I'm going, I don't care what it is. And then there are still people who are just like, it's too early for me. I'm going to wait it out. So we'll see what those actually do. I think that's going to determine some things too.
Looking 10 years down the road from now, if you had to look into your crystal ball, what do you think the biggest threat is to humankind?
The internet as a whole, for sure. The fact that we can communicate with each other so easily, to be able to give each other all kinds of false information, constantly being direct. It doesn't matter if it's your email, your phone, your texts, any chat room, any piece of news. There's the ability like to put stuff that's not true. I mean, we're getting it constantly. I got a call from Social Security the other day. I'm like, I'm not getting Social Security yet. You're ringing up the wrong phone here.
Hey, and by the way, I wanted to remind you, Sam, that your extended warranty is about to go out.
Yes, I saw that too. That's all right. I re-upped it. All the money, put it right on my credit card. Split it over 3 credit cards. So yeah, I mean, the internet for sure. But I mean, isn't it nuclear? Isn't that the real threat? Actual nuclear weapons?
Yeah, I would imagine so. I would imagine so. Or biological.
Are we like the doomsday clock is closer now than it's been in a long time?
I think we're living a biological threat attack right now.
Oh yeah.
I think a biological is probably more likely than nuclear.
Oh, for sure. I see your point. I think the doomsday clock too, I think it has to do with more like the potential for humankind to be completely destroyed. And for the most part, anything biological is probably not going to take everybody out. Certainly hope. But that's a fair point. Yeah. I mean, we're learning things. I think that with this pandemic, you guys probably agree that we've certainly learned a lot about how to function in it, or how to not function, or what sort of works, what doesn't work, and what basically our society as a free society is going to do when the next one happens, the next pandemic happens. We can, they in the movies, when they addressed it, they didn't address the whole right side, left side disinformation thing in it, because it's so big. I don't think anyone really knew it was going to be that big of a deal, So,
yeah.
Well, I think the movie was Contagion, right?
Yeah.
So good and really accurate.
I have a tough time going back and watching that, having lived through 2020.
It made me tear up a little bit.
Yeah, no doubt. Sam Loeffler, congratulations on the 9th album, Narratius. Narratius, am I pronouncing that right?
It's a made-up word. You can say it any way you like.
Awesome.
We say Narratius, Narratius.
Narratius, okay.
Yeah.
Hey, I appreciate your time today, man. And, you guys are always a brilliant live band. I can't wait to see you back out on the road and in front of people again, man. We all need it.
Yeah, us too. We have shows towards the end of June that start. So fingers crossed those all happen and everybody's happy and going.
Yeah. Awesome. We'll hope to see you out on the road, brother.
Absolutely. We will see you. All right. Nice to see you guys. Cheers.
Thanks. Take care, man.
Yeah.